Hello, children. It's Grandma Carla with Chapter 11 of Freddy and the Perilous Adventure. Freddy made one bound off the bed and into the middle of the floor, and if he had been set on springs, "Don't you touch me," he said. "I didn't do it. I didn't have anything to do with it. Send for my lawyer. Send for Mr. Bean. Send for..." "Oh," he said, sinking down into the chair. "It's you, Leo." My, you certainly come out fighting, Freddy," said the lion. "Dreamt somebody stole the dome off the Capitol of Washington, and the police arrested me for it," said the pig. "Well, you'd better dream some more. You don't gain much by waking up, because old Gulcher is going to send for the police and have them search the circus grounds for you." You mean he wouldn't play ball with us?" "No. I made him your proposition, and at first I thought everything was all right because he said if you got the balloon back in time for you to go up in it, tomorrow he'd tell the police that you didn't steal it. But when I said, of course, he'd give the $200 back to Mr. Bean, he said, 'Of course nothing. Bean didn't pay me to make an ascension.'" "He paid you what you thought you'd lost by not being able to make it," I said. But he didn't see it that way. The $200 Mr. Bean paid him, he said, was for, how was it? Mental anguish and laceration of feelings. That was it. Meaning, I suppose, the worry that he had over thinking the balloon was lost. Anyway, he's going to keep both 200s. "Well," I said to him, "some folks would call that dishonest, Mr. Gulcher." He just laughed. "Gulcher, dishonest," he said. "Well, now that's a matter of opinion, and such opinions are usually settled in a court of law. If Mr. Bean or that smart pig thinks I'm dishonest, why, all they got to do is argue it out before a judge and jury. 'Tain't any good talking about dishonesty. You got to prove it, or it isn't so." "We couldn't go to law about it," said Freddy. "It's too complicated a case, and besides, I'd be in jail." "You'll be in jail anyway if you don't get away from here," said Leo, because after I'd argued with him for a while, he said, "Say, you seem to know a lot about this pig. Where is he?" And I said, "Wouldn't you like to know?" And he said, "I would, and I think I'll have the police come search the circus and find out." "Pooh," said Freddy. "They'll never recognize me in this disguise." "Yeah? Well, listen to this. You remember Leslie? He's that young alligator that can turn cartwheels. Well, he hangs out down at the state police headquarters a lot because he likes to play checkers. He's good at it, too. Well, he just got back in time for his act, and he told me before he went on that the police got a complaint from a farmer that his scarecrow's clothes had been stolen." "Oh," said Freddy. "So they'll be looking for somebody in his clothes." Worse than that, Wes and Bill remembered that they'd seen clothes like that twice, and they put two and two together and decided that the scarecrow and the mouse trainer were the same person, and that they were probably a pig named Freddy who stole a balloon, because they said, "Why look for two thieves when one will do?" "Oh, golly," said Freddy wearily. "I ought to beat it right now, but I can't go with the disguise, and I certainly can't go without one. If I could get to that balloon, I guess I'd just like to sail off into the sky and never be heard of again." "Well, dye my hair," exclaimed Leo perplexedly. "I never thought to hear you give up as easy as that, just because the cops are beginning to close in on you. A pig that's done what you've done and seen what you've seen? Why, you haven't even begun to fight, Freddy." "Eh?" said Freddy. "Maybe you're right." He frowned. At first his frown was thoughtful, but gradually it grew fierce. "You are right," he said, and began stripping off the scarecrow's clothes. "I am not licked yet, not by a long shot. I'm going out there just like this, a pig and proud of it, and let 'em come take me if they can. Just let 'em try. Hey, hold on," said the lion. "You can't fight the whole police force. You certainly do change quick." "I expect it's my poetic temperament," said Freddy, "always flying from one extreme to the other. But I suppose you're right. Fighting's no good. We've got to use guile." "Is that some sort of disguise?" inquired the lion. Freddy was about to explain when there was a tap at the door. Leo motioned him to stay out of sight and opened the door a crack. "Oh, it's only you, Abdullah," and he opened the door wider. "Come in." The man who came in was very dark, and he had a big turban on his head and wore a white robe. He was one of the elephant drivers, and his name was really Ed Peabody, but he was called Abdullah and dressed like an East Indian because he had to ride on the head of Hannibal, the biggest elephant in the parade. "Why aren't you with Hannibal?" said Leo. "The elephant act will go on in a few minutes." "I came over to tell the boss," said Abdullah. "I can't go on with him tonight. I feel all sort of sick and dizzy." "You've been eating Hannibal's peanuts again," said Leo. "Well, I can't help it," said Abdullah. "The kids give them to me, and you know Mr. Boomschmidt says they aren't good for him, and I mustn't let him eat them. And my old mother always said, never throw away good food, so—" All right, said Leo. "Tell that to the chief, not to me. But somebody has got to ride Hannibal." "Hey, wait a minute," he exclaimed. "This will fix the whole thing. Give your turban and robe to Freddy. Abdullah, he'll take your place. Look, Freddy, if there's once place the cops won't expect to find you, it is on top of an elephant. Then, when the show's over and it's dark, you can go with Hannibal and Louise for the balloon." He looked sharply at the pig. "Only we'll have to put something on your face to darken it. Gracious, I never realized how blonde pigs were. I'll touch you up with some of Bill Wonk's hair dye that he uses on his mustache." "Well, dye my face," murmured Freddy unhappily. And so, when the animals marched into the big tent to go through their drill and do all of their tricks, it was Freddy in robe and turban and with a complexion as swarthy as a Moor's, who sat cross-legged on the back of Hannibal's neck and bowed graciously right and left to a thunder of applause. And it was Freddy who giggled so that he nearly fell off when, as he marched by one of the front benches, he saw Jinx and 4 white mice clapping their paws enthusiastically. "Wait until they know who they've been applauding," he said to himself. But his thoughts took a more solemn turn when a few minutes later he saw 4 state troopers walking down past the benches in different parts of the tent and looking closely at the audience. As the elephants went through their routine, he kept his eye on the troopers. Here and there, one of them would tap a man on the shoulder, and he and the man would exchange a few words, and then the trooper would go on. Gradually, the audience became aware of this activity, and some were annoyed by it, and some were scared, and pretty soon everybody was watching the troopers, and nobody was watching the elephants, or even the clowns. So then Mr. Boomschmidt stepped out into the middle of the ring and held up his hands. "Ladies and gentlemen," he shouted, "it has perhaps not escaped your attention that for the past 15 minutes, 2 shows have been going on under this tent. There is the show provided at great expense for your amusement by Boomschmidt's colossal and unparalleled circus, and there is the show provided, as far as I can see, to no purpose and at no expense at all by the gentlemen of the police. Since Boomschmidt's colossal and unparalleled circus does not believe in arguing with the police, the animals and the clowns of Boomschmidt's colossal and unparalleled circus will now withdraw and permit the police to continue with their own performance uninterrupted." "No, no," shouted the audience. "Go on with the show. Throw the police out." "Perhaps then," said Mr. Boomschmidt, "the police will tell us what they are looking for and we can help them find it and go on with the show." "We're looking for a pig who stole a balloon," called Bill from a top row of seats. "We have information that he is in this tent." At this news, that they were suspected of being a pig, some of the people who had been questioned by the police began to talk angrily to their neighbors, and others turned and looked suspiciously at people beside them and behind them, and the ones looked at got mad and several fights started. Down in the front row, an old gentleman who had on the only silk hat in the audience turned on the trooper who had been questioning him. "Look like a pig, do I? I'll have you know I'm Henry P. Utterly, senior partner of the law firm of Utterly, Wimple and Winker, and I shall start suit against you at once for defamation of character, malfeasance in office, and skullduggery in the first degree, and your case will be tried before Judge Utterly, which is me. And how do you like that, young man?" "Oh, gosh," said the trooper unhappily. "Ladies and gentlemen," shouted Mr. Boomschmidt again, "the opinion expressed by the police that anyone of this distinguished audience resembles a pig is one which you very naturally resent. Not that I have anything against pigs, my goodness, no. As a lifelong friend and companion of animals, I count amongst my most cherished friends members of the porcine race, and a pig, as pig, can be a very handsome animal. I should be the last to deny it. On the other hand, a pig looks like a pig, and a man looks like a man. No pig wants to look like a man, and per contra, conversely, and vice versa, no man wants to be told that he looks like a pig. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest to the respected gentlemen of the police that more harm will be done by continuation of their search here than by the possible escape of a pig, particularly since the pig is known to me personally as a thoroughly honest, reliable, and talented animal who I don't for a moment believe ever stole so much as a pin from anybody." There were loud cheers from the audience, and even from the elephants, for it was felt that Mr. Boomschmidt had dealt firmly and tactfully with a very difficult situation. Freddy could hardly restrain himself from jumping down and going over to thank his friend, particularly when he knew that his appearance at that moment would be received with the most enthusiastic applause. But he held himself back, and the troopers withdrew, and the show went on. And then, as soon as it was over, Freddy and Louise and Hannibal set out to find the balloon. All right, let's look at our pictures from that chapter. Here's a picture of the alligator who likes to play at the police department because he likes checkers so much. And he came back with the word that the police had put 2 and 2 together. And here is a very disguised Freddy. Let's see if we can see him. A very disguised Freddy up on top of an elephant in the middle of the big ring at the show, and nobody can tell that he is Freddy the pig that they are looking so desperately for. This is Grandma Carla, and I love you.